just to kind of like set the vision for tonight. Um, so just let it be cheesy if it is, and just go with it. Okay, close your eyes if you like with me for a moment. I want you to picture something. Your family or your future family is like a ship. God is the water below, holding you up. He is the wind above, sending you forward. And on this ship, each crew member has a role to play. Everyone matters. Everyone contributes. At the helm are two co-captains, the husband and the wife. They don't need to micromanage every sailor on board, but they do need to lead with wisdom, consistency, and connection. Now imagine the seas are calm, the sails are full, everyone is working together, smooth sailing. But then, picture a storm rolling in. Dark clouds, crashing waves, heavy winds. How will this crew weather the storm? These co-captains once lived as crew members of another ship under their parents' leadership. Now it's their turn to lead, and one day they'll train their own crew to co-captain ships of their own. But imagine this. On board, the crew begins to fall apart. One sailor is ignoring everyone else. Another sees a hole in the side of the ship but refuses to address it out of pride. Another is shouting commands so harshly that no one can hear the words past the tone. Conflict builds, but no one repairs it. Wounds and resentments remain unresolved. And then a new visitor shows up on the ship. The crew asks, How did you get here? He replies, there were footholds on the side of your vessel, so I climbed aboard. They don't know how to make him leave, so they decide to ignore him. But this visitor makes everything worse. He whispers lies into the ears of the crew. He agitates old grievances. He convinces them they are competitors instead of teammates. Instead of love, he feels selfishness. Instead of humility, he feeds pride. Instead of forgiveness, he fans bitterness. The ship is now in chaos, tossed by waves outside and division inside. And the co-captains realize if something doesn't happen or change, this vessel is headed for mutiny, shipwreck, and a broken legacy. But then picture this. The co-captains come to their senses. They dock their ship, they walk into town, and seek out the greatest commander of all the fleets. His name is Yahweh. They invite him on board, not as a guest, but as the true commander. And everything changes. The visitor flees. He cannot remain where the true commander reigns. The co-captains still lead, but now they take their direction from him. The crew learns to trust again, to listen, to repair what has been broken. The storms still come, but now the ship is ready. The co-captains communicate openly, even admitting when they disagreed in front of the crew. They model apology, they model forgiveness, they model humility. The crew begins to notice things they never saw before. The sunrise after the storm, the beauty of the sea, the joy of working side by side. There's laughter on deck, even singing and dancing as duties are performed. Suddenly, a crew member cheerfully shouts, "This is the best adventure ever!" And something else happens. The crew begins to truly see one another. They appreciate the unique roles each sailor carries. They encourage one another in those strengths. They celebrate how the commander has transformed each one, noticing gifts and callings they hadn't seen before. The more they honor one another, the stronger they become, and the more they grow in unity, the more glory and fame the commander receives. Because every other ship that sees them knows there's something different about this vessel. Other captains whisper, "Look at that crew, look at their joy, look at their unity. Who is their commander?" And every time, the crew just keeps turning back to him with thankfulness, knowing he is the reason their ship has life, peace, and purpose. This ship is different now. It is stronger, safer, more joyful, and more importantly, it is on course toward its true destination, the kingdom of God. Whenever a family chooses the way of flesh, pride, selfishness, bitterness, they unknowingly give the enemy a foothold and chaos comes on board. But when a family surrenders fully to God, his presence fills the atmosphere, the enemy flees, the home becomes like heaven, united, joyful, steady, and alive with the Spirit of God. So I ask you, what kind of ship will your family be? One battered by pride and disunity with the enemy whispering lies among the crew, or one strengthened by surrender to the commander sailing toward kingdom come?
Rewrote that, by the way.
Yeah, Lord just like gave it to me. Visions.
Yeah, a couple of things basically on that is the goal of this session. actually, let me take a step back. So our initial purpose was, how do we focus on family? And the more we started praying about it, the more God kept showing it's about your marriage, and how do you focus on that? And with that is the goal of tonight. Ultimately, is for you to have hopefully a renewed perspective of how God sees your marriage. And if we go all the way back to Genesis 1, He said, "I'm gonna create them, um, make man in our own image." And it's very relationship based. It's from the very, very beginning. God says, "I want to create somebody who is." It's the only other creation that is so relationship based on like a spiritual level, which is really incredible. And so our focus on tonight, the topic is around, um,
Covenant?
no,
Conflict.
conflict. There you go. Oh my gosh, what is that wonderful C word? Conflict. But we realized it's not. The more that we've gotten to it, so we've tested everything, and we've been like working through it over the last like month, and it has been so helpful. And basically, the line that we kind of keep going back to is to your lawn is green, or your grass is greener where you water it. And I've had 2 dead spots on my lawn on both sides, and for the last month, I wanted it green, like selfishly for this time because I'm vain. And I have to go out like every other day to like hand water it. And it takes a lot more work because there's some sprinklers broken, and that's made me realize that my whole lawn isn't bad, but maybe there's like some spots that need a little extra attention. And maybe that's what tonight is. It's going to give you a couple extra tools to hopefully get those brown spots a little greener.
Yeah, you're like, the grass is greener on the other side. No, it's just greener where you walk.
Yeah, it just takes some work sometimes, but it's so much better. So with that, I want to welcome up Paul and Leanne.
You on the bank?
Good times. Put your seatbelt on. Let's see here. So I'm going to open in prayer, and then Leanne's going to kind of set the table for the evening, what we're kind of going to discuss, since she's so good at it. Let me pray for us tonight. Heavenly Father, really just thank you for this time. Thank you for the Bears. Thank you for putting this on their hearts, and just opening our home and allowing us to just meet and discuss the important things of marriages. And thank you for so many folks being here this evening to just partake. And Father, we just want to spend this evening just really glorifying you, Father, and all the things that you show us and teach us, Father. And so just ask you to bless this time in our evening. And we just pray these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. You guys can secretly, quietly pray that we get this done in 20 minutes. It's going to be a miracle. But, you know, when you've been together for 34 years and married 31 years and you have 3 sons, there's like a lot you could say, as you can imagine. And I just wanted to quickly say, on behalf of Paul and I, like, thank you so much for inviting us. It's such an honor. And we did a community group. We co-led with them. And it was honestly the hardest time in my life so far, when we were co-leading. And I just wanted to say thank you because we got to do life real with you. We didn't have to pretend, and I really appreciated it. And I'm crying already, but that's what I do. But one of the things that I will say, because I don't think that everyone's real all the time, and I just don't think that's helpful. And I just want to say, this is not on my notes. I haven't talked to my husband about it, but I think he'll agree with me, is that everyone wants to quit marriage sometimes. And I don't know if people say that part out loud, but if you're going to be with someone for like 60 or 80 years or whatever, like, you might want to quit once or twice. And I think we just have to be real about that. And I did have a necklace made for one of my best friends, Kelly Miko, and it said "Die Trying," and it was like an inside joke between she and I that we kind of shared with all of the women because we believe in sharing our lives. And I think that "Die Trying" is like a real, almost like um, manifesto, if you will, you know, that I'm going to die trying. And sometimes I think I'm going to give Kelly another necklace, don't tell her, but it's going to be done trying. And I don't mean quitting on each other. That's not what I mean. I mean that some things in our relationships, we need to be done trying, because it's actually spiritually abusive to have somebody endure dysfunction, betrayal, abuse. You know, we need to be done trying with some things. And I hope tonight God will grace us with the ability to discern and pull apart what we need to just be done with and no longer endure, because that's just the enemy. And then there's other things where we do need to die trying. We need to give grace. We need to humble ourselves. We need to remember that we were forgiven too and get off our high horse. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to kind of start with that everyone wants to quit sometimes and jump overboard, Bree. But like I said, we've been married almost 31 years. We have 3 sons, 26, 23, and 21. And Paul and I have been mentored actually almost since, well, before we were married. So we had premarital counseling, and then we've had various couples that we sought out over the years. To us, that didn't mean something was wrong with us. To us, I think if we can tell you anything is, like, Paul never thought that I could complete him. I never thought he could complete me. We didn't start out like that. We started out and it was hard. Just our lives outside of us. We were in love, but life was hard for us. We didn't have like a honeymoon thing where everything came easy to us. We came out like kind of survivors linking arms together. And so we never thought that we didn't need help or that asking for help meant you were weak or broken or something's wrong with you. We think it's a superpower, and we think it's like amateur hour. Any of you all that are trying to do it without ever asking anyone for help, we think that's amateur hour. So we just want to call that out right now, okay? And also, I think when anyone hits conflict, we want to normalize that. Like, of course there's conflict. Of course there's conflict. The whole point is, like, when Paul and I hit conflict, I think one thing we'd like to transfer to you that our mentors gave to us is that we don't think like, wow, our marriage is broken. Our marriage is worse than everyone else's because we have conflict. And we also work really hard to not say like, I have a defective husband or I have a defective wife. We more look at it like, what exactly is interrupting our marriage? What's interrupting? Because that's actually interesting. You know, you're even in a business, you know, you go through and then all of a sudden your sales completely drop. You don't start blaming everyone. You gather information first and you say, wait, what interrupted the pattern that was working? And you just look at it. So you want to zoom out and take a look, if that makes sense. And so for Paul and I think we have come to think of it like a repertoire. Do you guys know what a repertoire is? Like, you go through your life and you start thinking like, okay, communication is what's interrupting us. Okay, shame's interrupting us. Okay, co-parenting's interrupting us. And then we study it and we talk about it and we try to come together with what's our code for life. We may have decided, like, for us, you know, the way we do communication is like this. That's going to be different than Scott and Bree. I guarantee it. He's way different than Scott. They're not the same personality. So our code wouldn't necessarily work, but our principles might. They probably do. And I thought it was interesting what you said about marriage and family, because kids learn how to do marriage from the way that we do marriage. And is that family or is that marriage? It's like all of it. And hopefully when you go through a life, the kids can pick up like, oh, we have a communication contract where we don't do threats of leaving. We don't do threats of leaving at the Suji house. That's not what you do in marriage. You don't threat to leave and then have that normalized in your family. We don't do drunkenness. We don't do, various things. So I guess what we're trying to do is help you catch a vision to build a repertoire for your marriage and for your family. And what we do is we name things. We deal with things, we own things, and then we make an agreement, because we don't want to have the same fight for our whole marriage. And, some of you guys, it's like a iPhone that's buffering, and it's just buffering for decades, and it's like the same fight, and we want it to land. I don't know what that's called when it stops buffering, but we want to like land plane. Well, if we're gonna fight, let's fight about something different and new and interesting, but not the same thing over and over. Okay, so I guess the take home for tonight is we want you to take an inventory of what is buffering in your marriage, and we want you to get successful about putting things away neat. Maybe not perfectly. I mean, anyone who knows anything in psychology, I'm sure would be telling me right now, like, wait a minute, Leanne, there's patterns. You know, of course there's patterns, of course there's themes, but we can get better at it. And some of you guys know that I'm a life and leadership coach, and it's within that format. What I do is I like to have a loving confrontation. So that would be the same as what we're saying right now. You confront and name what it is, a loving confrontation. And then there's a section about developing character. That could be my character, that could be Paul's character. It's probably both. And then there's skills and building skills. And so hopefully that helps you get kind of a vision for what we're trying to cast, is that let's not do the same fight for 60 years. Let's name things. Let's have loving confrontation with each other, like facing the problem from the same side. And Paul's going to talk about that more too. But I think that, like, ultimately, you know, when you have someone die, when somebody gets fired, when something big happens in life that's outside of you, that's not the time to now figure out, like, oh, what do we do about the fact that we can't communicate? You know what I mean? It's just dog piles on you. So you want to get that sort of foundation built so that you can face a challenge together from the same side, because your husband can get sick and almost die. That happened to us. All kinds of things happen in a life of 3 boys. But so anyhow, the bottom line is, how do you address those things in your marriage that are undermining you as a couple? And how do you decide together how to resolve and put them away? And we're going to try and give you 3 ways tonight. Number 1, make it your goal to grow instead of being right. That's big in the religious community. Is one person's right, what happens? The other person has to be wrong. There's only 2 options, right? So make it your goal to grow, not to be right. The second is to tend to what is not working. Don't put it under the rug. Don't ignore it. Don't blame the other person. Tend to what needs to be tended to. And the final one is to protect your marriage through the covenant. So I'm handing it off to you, babe.
I was gonna get just hanging out and just listening to you, so I don't know what I'm doing here.
Okay, you go.
All right. So the first one that she mentioned is make it your goal to grow, not to be right. So there we need to kind of grow up individually and together. There's so many life circumstances that happen in our life that progressively life gets harder, right?
They might not know that. We should tell them it gets much worse.
Yeah, just a warning. It doesn't. Yeah, there's no cruise control in life. It probably goes up in scariness and all that good stuff, but it does get harder.
Go into that a little more. What is that?
Well, like hashtag midlife.
Well, let's see here. Like currently for our situation, we have adult kids, and everyone's living at home. And you've got 2 adult kids that are very strong and opinionated and very smart kids. And so they want to like share their knowledge to you as parents and how things should be done.
But we're still buying the toothpaste, so there's that.
It's gotten a lot better.
It's a lot
They're
better.
not-
I'm teasing.
They don't spend
They pay their own way.
they do their own thing. It's just those are the type of circumstances. Like right now, you guys have a lot of control with kids under 12 years old, 13 years old, right? You can say, hey, go to bed. It's bedtime's 10 o'clock. Dinner's going to be at 5. We're doing our homework after that, blah, blah, blah. Those things, seasons change. And when I mean seasons change, for us, having kids in our house and just experiencing all that growth and
Teenage rebellion comes.
rebellion
And if you're not on the same page, and then you're both scared or you're both angry at the same time for different reasons, it's
So-
on.
And if you guys haven't addressed all the things that you guys maybe came into the marriage with, right? So that's your baseline conflict confrontation that you're going to have throughout the scope of your seasons of your life as you go on through marriage. So I think the most important thing is like growing individually. Like I was challenged by my adult kids, like, hey, there's something you should probably do, and maybe that includes therapy. And I'm like the guy that's like the samurai warriors, like samurai guys don't need therapy. We go out and cut ourselves up and we bleed, and that's what we do. So it's just like, you're going to hear those things from your kids, and you're going to be like, wow, if the consensus in my family is the 4 people in my household are saying, hey, Dad, I think it's a good idea to maybe go talk to somebody, And I've been carrying on for the first 50 some odd years of my life saying, I don't need therapy. I don't need to talk to somebody because I'm a strong guy. Well, you're kind of like going against the grain and really not growing individually. So for myself, it's like literally if you tracked the decades of my existence, first 5 years, we're struggling in our marriage. We have kids. Again, there's your stress increase right there. And the guys that know me intimately that I've done community group with, anger has been something that's been a part of my existence from day one. And so you throw that into the mix, and if you don't take care of the anger issue, and you got the stressors of provision, children, a wife that is asking you to step up as a husband, it's like there's 3 good things right there that'll just kind of get you fired up, right? So
Can
we're
I
not even.
can I say something? Real
Yes, go ahead.
quick? I just want to say that without filling in the blanks, it would make sense for you to maybe conclude like, wow, a kid rebelled and Paul got really angry, and that's not wrong, but I just want to say that like Paul's so strong and he's so smart. It's like I'm married to a Navy SEAL. He's never showed weakness. He's like my rock. And then when we hit tough times, he had false narratives. He had the guy that you were talking about that came up on our boat and started whispering like, you failed as a father, right when I thought I failed as a mother. And so it's not always the same thing, you know. And one thing that I think that is really beautiful that Paul and I have talked about is that you don't need Paul doesn't need the same wife as I was on our honeymoon when we have a rebellious teenager. He needs me to have grown and changed and taken care of my stuff and be able to hold it together and to have composure. I need a different husband than the man that was angry when we first, had our 5 years. And I just really want to honor Paul and say that, like, he took care of his anger very young. And I can't even imagine if he didn't. And so, yeah, we need a different version. We need to grow.
Yeah, that's took the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry.
It is very important to like assess ourselves, take an inventory of ourselves. And that inventory and that assessment's going to change every 5, 10 years. The qualities that you thought you brought into the marriage when you were first married, we're all looking good, our body's trim, everything's good looking, we're ready to rock and roll. That's just not going to carry through when you're in your second phase, third phase of your season of marriage. So you always have to be really assessing a lot of things. One of the funny things that I used to do with my kids when they were really young, I was out there like Saturdays, you're picking the weeds. And they were just like, what are you trying to teach us? What are you trying to do? They would just be so bummed that they had to spend their Saturdays picking weeds. And I'm like, well, it's kind of like God teaching us, like, we're constantly maintaining our yard. If we don't maintain our yards, the weeds grow, crabgrass gets into your lawn. Okay. If you're not watering that dry spot on your lawn, it gets browner and browner and browner, right? That's kind of like our marriage if we're not taking care of those things in our lives. I know it sounds simple. We're all smart adults, but you would be very, very surprised how we don't learn that lesson. And I want nothing more than for marriages to take assessments and learn, just be honest with yourselves. And hey, we're all not perfect. We know that we have shortcomings left and right. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things is to set ourselves for yourselves to grow. Just like, it's like when I coach, I said, you're going to get a 0.5% better every day to the guys that I coached, right? Doesn't seem like a lot, but every day you're taking that assessment to get better and better and better. So that's where you guys should be as individuals, right? So that's where we went with the first topic, which is make it your goal to grow, right?
Yes, and I'm going to go real fast on the second one, tend to what is not working. But, in my family of origin, my family sort of completely fell apart when I was about 21 years old. And that's like right when I met Paul, like when they sold the beach house, sold the snow house. Paul's like, I got here right when everything went south. I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah, it used to be great. But everything kind of fell apart. And something that was embedded in me is this sort of highly vigilant, a little bit worried, this isn't going to work. And I think that's a lot of what Bree and Scott had a front row seat when we were doing community group is I just had that going through my mind. This isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And I was extremely worried about it. But again, I have to really thank my husband because he took influence from me. He didn't dismiss me. He didn't tell me I was acting, ridiculous
Or crazy.
or crazy. Yeah. He like really took me at my word and said, okay, my wife believes this isn't going to work. Our current setup with our son, that was a problem. And I really appreciated that because you can imagine in a marriage, if you're dismissed or you're put down or you're imagining things. So I really appreciated that. And I think that's a word to the men that, you're the head of the home ultimately, and you need to take influence from your wife. She needs to take influence from you. And everybody knows the verses about that. But, wives need to be able to have their husbands take influence from them. We're feminine creatures. We have instinct. We have intuition that God created us with. And so, I'm just going to name some things really quick. We need to deal directly with things and tend to things like a garden. We need to tend to poor communication, like threats to leaving, stonewalling. We need to deal with foolishness. We need to deal with addiction. We need to deal with financial mismanagement or secret spending. We need to deal with roots of bitterness and unforgiveness, co-parenting, undermining each other, abandoning somebody when you're both trying to, show as a united front to the kids. Being short-sighted. You really need to take the long-range view. If something's not going to work, then we need to interrupt it immediately, not wait until, it's too late to turn the ship around. And then, of course, betrayal. And we're going to talk a little bit more about betrayal.
Nice one. Can I just say
Well,
something?
yeah.
in regards- So tend to what is not working. So I'm a guy that was born and raised in South Oxnard, seen some fun stuff, went to a great Christian school. And so you can imagine when I made the conversion to being a Christian, I was pretty imprinted with what reality looked like and then what my ideal life I wanted to look like, right? And in regards to all these things that she's talking about in regards to dealing with things directly, one of the things I would say is as Christians, we have a tendency to because our God is perfect, we think our life is perfect and we're supposed to only be that way, right? We're not supposed to have any wrinkles or warts or, we're never supposed to raise our voice to our wife or to our husband or whatever, right? I think we're fearful of that because what it may represent to other people, our friends, our close circle of friends. And I would say that's probably the biggest lie. It's going to keep you stuck. It's going to keep you, like what she said, is these things that happened early on in your marriage are just going to sit there and just fester for 20, 30 years. And this is what I'm going to say is when your kids are gone, there's no buffer. Your husband, your wife, they're going to be like, do I really want to be dealing with the guy that hasn't been dealing with the problem? Or do I want to be dealing with the wife that hasn't been dealing with their problem? And you can see in the real world what happens in the midlife, our age. I'm 54. We get tired, we get old, and we're just like, dude, I'm grumpy. I don't need this crap. I'm out of here. I'm going to go live my Instagram life and go to New Zealand, go fly fish, do whatever I want. You know what I mean? And so you got to be really on it,
Yeah.
thoughtful. I saw her. She made a move. I thought she was going to talk. I was
I
talking.
caught myself.
Yeah, do you see that? I was in a very polite way to answer.
We don't even have to talk.
I did the Jedi
Yeah.
thing. So, oh yeah, it was off. It's the peripheral right here. I smell. Yeah, we've been living
True.
together for a long time. Anyway, so the point is, I think it's just so important. Don't fall into this mystique, this idealism, this imagery, this, we're in the social media. We're just sitting here flashing, putting up our little poses and stuff like that. What a happy couple's supposed to look like. And it's not supposed to look like we're arguing or talking about conflict or talking about finances or talking about our kids, blah, 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 and how we're supposed to raise them. No, we should be doing those things because we want a healthy marriage. We want to address these things early on. I feel like all the things she addressed are things that are going to just hang you up as a couple, as a married couple. Being an effective mom or dad.
The only thing I was going to add, and I'll just pop it in here real quick, is that everything Paul said is 100% true. And you can just kind of be like, yeah, I want to go fly fish in New Zealand and I want to think about myself. I've been working for the family all these years. I want to be, moms can say that too. They do. Also, what can happen is that, your parents start to fail. Your kids, I know a lot of people who are estranged from their adult children and they feel completely ripped off. They gave them everything their whole life. And then now this is what they get. And so the only thing I was going to add is that sometimes life just gets so hard that they think, I can't do marriage and handle death and handle a broken heart. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why you want to be each other's comfort in the storm, not another problem on top of my mom's dying, on top of my kids rebelling, on top of this kid's in addiction or whatever. So, yeah.
Sorry, I want to make another point as far as what you just said. I think it's important to know that, like, I think what the root of it is, and I was taught this by a mentor of mine, is there's a river, and I'm a fly fisherman, and if I walk out there myself, it's pretty hard to cross the other side, right? So even as a fellow, I have a partner fly fishing with me. We'll lock arms and we'll walk through that river together to fight the current, and it's 50% easier to get across. It's kind of like our relationship. Like, that's where we need to kind of stand at the point when the heat gets turned up in our seasons of marriage. Like, that's
The
where
waters
the
rise.
waters rise, the current's getting strong, and it's really pushing against us. Like, we want to be more interlocked. We don't want to be away. Like, I don't want to be that looking at her going, dude, you're still bringing this up from like when we first got married. And then, my parents die or somebody gets sick, and then like these stressful things start to happen. Am I more inclined to grab her, or am I more inclined to push at that point? Right? Because we haven't taken care of those things that kind of keep popping up throughout our marriage.
You'd be shocked how many people divorce like days after your first kid's 18th, after your first kid graduates from high school. It is shocking. Everybody in town divorces. They're just waiting for their graduation and they're done. We didn't know that. And when our first kid graduated, we're like, oh, this is what happens. They were just holding out for that. Interesting. That's so sad, Okay, Scott, I'm so sorry we're going late. I'm going to bring it home. So
That's a lie.
protect marriage through covenant. Covenant is sacred. What I will say is that, in all sincerity, I'm genuinely the lucky one. Paul, I always tell Paul all the time, I'm like, you thought this would be fun. Don't get mad now. But it's like, he is the most sincere, devoted man that I know. And he is so passionate about the covenant. And it has been something that has protected and preserved our life because he's so sincere about it. So I thought that he could just talk about that for a moment and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, you want to bring up the part about it's a contract, but it's not like a overbearing thing to keep you suppressed or You want to bring that up real quick?
Sure. Paul and I have talked over the years about sometimes inside of religious environments, and I'm not saying spiritual or sacred environments, but in religious environments, we have noticed that sometimes the covenant, which is supposed to be a beautiful, forever promise modeled by God that he loved us through a covenant and not a contract, we notice that sometimes people use the covenant to like lock their spouse in. Like they don't mature, they don't grow, they're not kind, they're not, they're betraying. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what they expect, but then they'll come to us for mentoring and we're like, it's really spiritual abuse at this point for us to like throw down the covenant idea when someone else is taking advantage of the kindness year after year. Does that make sense? And so a covenant is not meant to lock someone in and it's like, oh, I didn't sleep with anyone. And so That's the covenant. The covenant is so much more. It's even so much more than betrayal just through physical, contact with somebody else. It's also like sharing intimate details, sharing the intimacy of your relationship relationally, joining with someone else financially and your wife doesn't know, doing things in secret. I mean, porn is just, another thing that we would be remiss to not mention, but it's like there's an intimacy emotionally and there's a fidelity emotionally and then there's a fidelity that's physical, and the covenant is just so much bigger than I didn't sleep with anybody, so what is she complaining about, or I brought home a paycheck faithfully. It's like it's more than that. We can all agree, right? And same thing on the other side with the wives. The wives need to do more than just be physically present and not have left. A lot of people leave, they leave through escapism, through addiction. They're physically there, but they're not there.
You stole all of it.
Sorry.
So all really good things. Like that's I just wanted to make sure that wasn't like an entrapment for a husband or wife to be, suppressed in the description of what a covenant is. I was going to explain more in regards to the preciousness of the covenant. And I'll just give this example. You got an amazing Rolex watch, it's $20,000. You got that box that you put it in to wind it up every day. You're opening it, you're shining it all up, close it all up, put it back into your safe. But here you are with your wife, and you're kind of like, can you just get the dang groceries and take care of the kids and, just be available? What's wrong with you? Right? And the covenant is like that watch. That was supposed to be at the end. You messed up the timing again. Jacqueline, I can't count on you for anything. All jokes, just jokes. You sure your kids are okay? Yeah, that's all right. Go for it. We're all there. Now she's talking to me about time.
Time.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. So anyway, the whole point is,
I think that's about the safe.
yes, the covenant is super precious, I think, in my mind. That's what keeps what we're talking about in regards to confrontation kind of minimized. Because when we made a promise to each other, we were there and we shared those words. We're there to protect, to nurture.
Forsaking all others.
Right. All those things, sickness, health, all the things that the covenant is standing for. I think we kind of take those words for granted. So I think, if anything, like maybe your assignment should be to go and look on Google and ChatGPT what a covenant looks like in regards to a Christian marriage. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chicken.
Give you
Yeah. So anyway, the point is, for me, I think if you want to make your wife feel loved, secure, wanted, safe, look at that example of that precious watch that you have, or whatever you think that is precious, the material thing. Apply that to your wife. Like, take care of her. Like, then it will really ease the fact that, like, take her side, like, understand what she is trying to say to you, and her fears, and just don't disregard her and just kind of brush her off. Like, those are the things that are like going to avoid the confrontation and the conflict as you go through your seasons of life. Like, remember the covenant. Like, dude, you're not going to write an email to some girl and share something personal about you and your wife. That's, dude,
It's precious.
those are things that you just don't do, right? You don't share all the intimate details of husband and wife with another person. Your concentric circle is you and your wife, your spouse, and you just keep that together. It doesn't go out in that regard. So keep that sacred, the covenant. That's the most important thing that I would say.
Yeah, and I just remember Paul saying he has a beautiful Rolex watch. His dad died when he was 12, and it's the only thing that he has left of his father. And he puts it carefully in the safe. And every once in a while, he'll just go open the safe and just make sure it's still there. You know, it's this huge gun safe. It's awesome, but he'll like just make sure the watch is still there. And it to me is a real picture of, you know, he doesn't leave it out on the counter, see if it, you know, gets swept up by somebody. He's careful with it. And so I guess that's where we'll land today, is to be careful with your marriage, is to be thoughtful. To be thoughtful about what are the foxes that can get you and to deal with them directly. So I'm so sorry. I beg your pardon. We went long. We tried. That's my other thing on my tombstone. I wanted to say she tried. Okay.
All right.
All right, sweet. Well, the next part of this, we're gonna hand out a bunch of these little papers. So these are stuff that we've just been praying through. Okay, we've been praying through everybody coming tonight and what God has for you. And so I'll show you. There's 3 pages basically for what you guys can go to, and then after that has been some tools. Even like if anybody came to last time, Dom and Emily Bali shared this tool called Thanos, which has been super helpful for us. And so we just put a bunch of tools in the back. So just kind of quickly going through for everybody can see. First is a little section for you guys just to encourage each other. Next is a Venn diagram basically of what brings you life. So his and hers. So just for you to compare, say, okay, what do you need? What brings you life? And then what does your spouse need? And then find a common. Next is love languages, just for you to figure that out. And then this 4 horsemen is to find out areas that maybe you gravitate towards. And it might be like, maybe you're just a nuclear bomb, and every single time you go towards like, hey, you're so selfish, and you just start guns a-blazing. Well, how do you say it in a healthy way?
So those are the 4 main like activities that we have.
Yep.
And then the next pages are, this is basically like a take-home resource. It's not meant to like be comprehensive just for this moment right now, but something to like revisit. So then it's the tools, and these have been our favorite like connection and marriage tools, and we've used them and have really benefited from them. And the first one is the Thanos, the feeling appreciation, something appreciate about your spouse, needs, ownership, and struggles and tools. It's something you can just like have a daily check-in, or if you have like a big problem to work through, it can kind of be a nice structure to create some order within that conversation. And then the his and her needs from Willard Harley's books. And I kind of use this, like this is meant to be not something where Scott's like, hey, take a look at his needs. Like you should be doing better. But it's like where each person takes ownership. So I will like do a check-in and I like have these memorized and I'm like, okay, how am I doing with fulfilling his needs right now? And knowing that these are important, we've talked about it. I'm like, hey, how does this look? Like, is this true? And he's like, yeah. And we've like kind of like made it more a little bit personalized to us. And then so I know like, okay, these are like really important to him. I need to make sure because like I'm that person to fulfill these specific needs for him, and then vice versa for him, for me. And then the Gottmans, we have a lot of their research woven into this because they're actually like just like a Jewish couple, but they have done such amazing research on marriages and couples that have been like years and years long. And the bids is from one of the things they see that healthy marriages do. And so a bid is like if I'm like, and then he's like back. So, but marriages that are kind of going down to the tank, if I go like this and he's just like, or if he just even turns away. So it takes the bid and response. Those little connection moments add up over time. And so that goes into the 4 levels of the sound relationship house from the Gottmans. And so this is like basically relationships that are really strong work. They have these key things. And so within conflict, we in our research and what we've realized is the best way to get through conflict is to have connection for the 23 hours of the day that you're not in that 1-hour conflict, right? So you have like this money in the bank, this like connection and bolstering. So you're like, I know he's for me, I'm for him. We love each other. We know kind of where we're at in life. We have this constant communication and dialogue so that when we have a conflict, it's just like doesn't crash us. It doesn't, we're not like shipwrecked. And then the forgiveness framework. Do you want to talk about that? Or do you want to?
Go ahead.
This is from Hidden Manna, like a prayer Holy Spirit counseling ministry I'm part of, and my friend who's here is part of too. And they've written a book called Off the Hook, and there's actually free copies available inside on our kitchen table if anyone want to grab it. It's all about the power of forgiveness, and it's like how forgiving you frees me. So this is a framework to look into. You could look into it later, but it talks specifically how to work through forgiving someone. So it's something I practice like all the time, because these little grievances, if they're not dealt with, like what Leanne and Paul are talking about, they can grow to big things. So even if it's a little silly thing, it's something I do just before me and God. But it's important to speak it out loud, because Satan can't hear a thought, but he needs to know that I've forgiven Scotty. I need to speak that out. And so it's important to be spoken out so that he can't hook me up on that anymore. And it's like a releasing. So it's like saying that person. It's kind of funny to say this, but you say that person's name out loud, and it's like, I forgive you for, and you say what you forgive him for. And then after you work through that, and you say, because Jesus has forgiven me much and holding blameless, I choose to forgive you and hold you blameless. I give back to you what belongs to you, washed in the blood of Jesus, and I take back from you what belongs to me, washed in the blood of Jesus. And then you ask the Lord, what do you have a blessing for this person? And then you say, I bless you with peace, and I bless you with deep satisfaction in your life, ability to see and move forward in growth, something like that. So it could be as silly as like, something I'm constantly working through is interrupting Scotty. Because girls are like, oh yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, me too. And I just can't help it. Like with my girlfriends, like we interrupt each other all the time. And it's like a love language. You're like, oh, you get me, you know? And it's like not the case with men. So I was like giving an example, like Scotty was like, I forgive you for interrupting me and making you feel like what I have to say doesn't matter. And we had like a good conversation about it. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want you to feel like that. So just like little things like that. And then when it was just getting longer, but it's such an important piece, I feel like, because unforgiveness can take us down. So then later, after he works through it with the Lord, he can come to me and be like, hey, when you interrupt me, it makes me feel like what I have to say doesn't matter. I just would love for you to just like let me completely say what I need to say. And then like you can say what you have to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really good. Yeah. And then, yeah.
I just want to mention, like, when she said the bids, like, you look like this and then you look like that. I don't think you meant it like this, but if anyone thought of it being like just sexual, like, hey, it's literally like, oh, look at that bird in the tree. And then them not ignoring you just on little things.
Totally.
Yeah. So I just want to mention that, because I think
Yeah.
like part of the Gottman method is just,
I've ever heard.
Yeah.
it's big.
It's like, yeah, it is. It's like, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody speak on them.
Yeah. You're doing it probably, but you just don't even know. But it's like good to be aware of it, to like feel it.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have a great video on that. I think you sent that.
It's like Gottman's.
Yeah. They have a little
What does it
website.
send it to? Because it explains it a lot more, and it makes so much sense.
Get the bit down. Yeah.
Yeah, we've just been, that's like an thing is we're kind of taking a lot of Gottman stuff and like getting bite-sized pieces of it.
It's so great.
Yeah. So, last thing is, what does the Bible say about this? Like, super important is, I think, always rooting ourselves in that. With that, I want to wrap up this time. So I think my thing I'm most protective of is for you guys to come together. And last call is specifically to husbands and to the men. Satan hates your marriage, and he hates it because it's the closest reflection of God's love. And it's two multiple beings becoming one and being intimate. And so I would say I don't know if you feel like this, but sometimes our minds can be in like work or it's projects around the house. And it's not like on our precious wife and time with her and checking in with like, hey, how are you doing? How can I bless you today? Doing something little like that. I don't even know exactly what else to say other than like, I've been praying a lot for guys that we can do. So whether it's like tonight and just like stepping up and saying, hey, I don't even know, but I'm going to like go through these tools that are like right before me so I can cherish my wife and like lead you in this. That's it. But just want to encourage you. If you knew that a gunman was waiting outside of your house tonight for your family, you'd probably do something about it. But we have an enemy who's way worse, who's waiting outside of all of our wives and kids' hearts. And I think it's honorable to step up. And I'm learning how to do that. Like this is my step of figuring like I don't know how to do that, and so here I am trying to figure it out with you. That being said, we don't have clipboards. We have a bunch of large books, so you can use those, and we have pens. And then again, feel free to help yourself to any drinks and all that. You can move chairs around the whole yard. If you haven't been here, bathroom is you can go in and then past the dining room into the right, and there's 2 bathrooms on the right inside there. I'll come and get everybody. I think it's probably like
8:10.
8:10, so like 20 something, 25 minutes or so. Feel free to find time. Anybody have any questions? Beth, you back?
We do this together or so?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
So you're doing it together as a couple, so you guys can go out and just for you guys to go through this. We've tried to give you instructions at every single step, so if you read through it, it should guide you through everything.
There you go. Also some find us.
Yeah.
And then after, for like 20 minutes at the very end, we're just going to have a time of open discussion where you guys can share like, hey, this isn't really working for us. Or like, we got this takeaway that was super important. We just love to hear like open discussion, but obviously check in with your wife or husband and mutually agree upon what you want to share. You don't want to do that overshare thing where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want you to share that, So just like that being said. But yeah, you feel free to just grab some refreshments and then head out. We kind of created like little obvious pods. Some people have to stay here just because of the numbers, but yeah, great.